Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to the WIZDOM podcast. This is episode number 1, and so we're giving it a try. I'm here with Marketa, and I'm super excited to just dive into this conversation about well-being, improving your life, your happiness. I'm so excited to pick Marketa's brain. She is a life coach, and many other things, of course. But she's going to be one of our wizards here on the WIZDOM platform. And so, yeah, super excited. So, Marketa, I'd just love to hear from you a little bit about, who you are, where you're at. Yeah, let's just start off. How would you introduce yourself?
Sounds good. Hi, Casey. Hi, everyone. It's so good to be here, and I'm honored to be on the first episode. That feels very special, and also excited to start working with WIZDOM and with everybody in the audience. So, a little bit about myself. My name is Marketa, and I come from like the classical background of being the corporate high achiever. Pretty much, I spent the first 30 years of my life studying my ass off and working my ass off. And, then I kind of realized I wasn't doing it because it was making me happy. I was doing it because I don't even know why. It was just a program that I was running that, this is how you do life. You go to school, you get good grades, you study, you go to other schools, you study, you get your degrees, you go to work, you make a lot of money, you get a house, you get this and that, and you're happy and you're doing life right. Except I wasn't, because I was feeling miserable. And it was getting worse and worse over a couple of years until I kind of hit rock bottom, and I quit and I left my life as I knew it. And I was finally like, okay, something needs to change. But this time I was not really looking for a change outside. I was more looking, okay, something inside of me has to change. Like, I have to change, because obviously what I have been doing until now is not working. And so they started a period of time of really deep healing and inwards introspection, and me trying to figure out what was going on, and kind of like slowly finding my way back towards myself and towards my true self and my true soul. And that's a journey I'm still on. And being part of WIZDOM is also part of that journey. So I have learned a lot on my own journey. As Casey mentioned, I'm currently training to be a life coach and a performance lifestyle coach as well. And I'm excited to share that wisdom with other people, as well as help other people guide themselves home. So that's pretty much it right now.
Awesome, cool. So, what was the moment or that turning point, and maybe it was over time, but that you decided that this is something that you wanted to pursue?
It's been back and forth. There hasn't been really a defining moment. Even with the life coaching, this is something that I have been circling around for the past year. And I just, really committed to it a few months ago. But the funny thing is, I actually signed up 6 months earlier and then I quit.
Okay. Let's get into that. Why did you quit before? What did you run into?
I ran into my limiting beliefs in my blogs. Because at that point in my journey, I really wanted to start sharing my journey online and starting to share what I have learned and what I believe could help other people as well. And somehow I had this belief that I could only do this if I had like a certificate backing me up. If I was a certified life coach, then I could go online and speak my truth. But if I didn't have this certificate, I couldn't do it. And so for a while, I was not conscious of this. And so I signed up, and then I became conscious of this. And I was like, oh, wow. this is probably not the right motivation for me to be pursuing this. And so I basically changed my mind, got my money back before the training started. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing this right now, not with this motivation. And I went online and started sharing anyway. And 6 months later, now I'm getting into the training with, not trying to prove my worth, or, not trying to prove that, hey, I'm good enough, so I can speak now, but rather, from the mindset of, well, if I actually want to work with other people and help other people, I better ramp my skill set up. I want to make sure that I'm doing a good job for others. So now it's about getting my skills up rather than confirming my self-worth, pretty much.
I see. I think that's a beautiful, first of all, self-awareness that you have about your deeper motivations for why you're doing what you're doing. And noticing whether that's coming from, a genuine place or a place of some sort of more like maybe like a wounding of self-worth. But even just to become aware of that on your own journey, I think is healing in itself in a way.
Absolutely. And honestly, I believe it's crucial. You know what? I really believe that the motivation with which we do something matters. The energy where we are coming from, it matters a lot. So for me, it's really important to make sure that what I'm doing is actually like coming from intentions that are aligned with me and that are not coming from the wounding, right? And being able to discern that and take action or not action accordingly is super important for me.
Wow, yeah, I can see how that can really attribute to having more alignment in your life. Is there anything like a practice or some kind of tips that you could offer, our audience or even me? I'm curious on how you define or your intention, how you make sure that that is truly aligned with you and you're not just coming from a place of trying to prove yourself or something like that instead.
So that's a great question, and honestly, like for me, it's been a practice of trial and error, and sometimes and kind of like constantly asking myself, why am I doing this, and constantly kind of like feeling into feeling into my motivation, feeling into why I'm doing things. And maybe if I were to give one tip, it would be to ask yourself whether you're doing something out of love or out of like genuine interest, like genuine compassion, genuine love, genuine affection, or whether you're doing it out of fear of not being good enough, fear of losing someone, fear of losing something, fear of being rejected, fear of whatever, feeling of, fear of not being safe. This is probably like the biggest distinction I can make, and how it shows up for everyone is going to be unique, right? So there is always going to have to be a component of you just being able to get in tune with yourself and your body and your emotions and kind of discern that, like, which is it for me right now? And it can also change over time, right? As it did for me. I signed up for the training that half a year ago, believing that I was doing it for the right reasons, and a few days later I realized I was not. So it's a process, right? And we discover layers and layers and layers of ourselves and of our motivations, and then we take action and correct course or not. So it's really about getting to know yourself, getting to know your body and the signals of your body.
I love that. I really, really love the point that you made about the distinction between checking in if it's love or if it's fear. Now, in terms of figuring out and tuning into your body, can you walk us through maybe what the differences might be? Like, how does love feel versus how does that fear feel for you in your body? Like, how can you be, I don't know if that's something maybe.
Absolutely. Okay, let me think about this for a second. Let me change my position here. So I am going to use an example that is not mine, but that I love, and I read it in a book by Martha Beck, who is also coincidentally the author of the coaching training that I'm being trained in. And she used an amazing tool. which is, it's all about tuning in. So becoming silent for a bit, calming down, and then ask yourself or say out loud the following sentence, which is, I am meant to take out trash. I am meant to take out trash. And see how that feels in your body.
I am meant to take out trash?
Yes, I am meant, my meaning is to take out trash.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And just notice how that feels. And then the second sentence you say is, I am meant to live in peace.
I am meant to live in peace.
And you notice how that feels.
It felt different. The first one felt uncomfortable.
It's meant to feel different, right? And because, the first sentence, I'm meant to take out trash, is obviously not true.
Yeah.
So your body reacts to something that is obviously not true in a way that it reacts to something false. Whereas the sentence, I'm meant to live in peace, apparently, is what most commonly resonates with people as true.
Yeah.
So this is a very simple way that you can just start feeling into what false and true feels like in your body. Kind of starting to get that sense for it. And over time, for me, for example, by now, whenever I'm speaking something that is not true, I feel it. It's it's tugging. It's a tug in my body. There's a part of me that is like, oh no, this is not true. Or even if I'm withholding speaking my truth, I feel that tug. So, the ways that your body speaks to you are going to be very unique to you. And yet, this example that I just shared with the I'm meant out to take trash and I'm meant to live in peace is a great starting point.
Yeah, I can see how just to start practicing and noticing
Yeah.
the subtle differences in the feelings that we get and using those feelings as kind of guidance for if you're aligned with those thoughts about what you're meant for, where you're at.
Exactly. Just basically let your body tell you the truth.
Mm. Yeah. I think probably not enough people are tuning into their body enough for its innate wisdom. I think there's so much wisdom that's held in the body that it's oftentimes it's a whole nother intelligence. So it's the intelligence of the mind, which is its thoughts, mostly rooted in the past, fears about if the past going to happen again, the pain that I felt in the past. Those are those thoughts trying to protect us. But the body, it's it already knows. It's it's got this stored wisdom and it can guide us through when our mind is ruminating. So I always love to learn about more different practices to get us in tune with our body. I think that's why I practice yoga. That's what breath work is for. It's to get us tuned into here down in our bodies, out of this
Mind.
yeah, the mind stuff. It's often picking us up. Okay, great. Okay, so what advice do you have for any listeners who might be feeling overwhelmed or a little stuck?
Oh, overwhelmed and stuck. That's such a great question. Because that's coming up a lot in my life as well. And one thing that I would just like to encourage you to reframe maybe is that when we feel overwhelmed or when we feel stuck, it means that we are hitting our upper limit of our current identity, right? Assuming that we are stepping towards something that we haven't done before, we are stepping towards growing, towards evolving, and we get stuck. So this means that we are hitting an upper limit of our current identity. Our current identity is oh my god, I'm about to be dismantled. And to our body and to our subconscious mind, this feels really unsafe. because our identity is, it's kind of, it's our little prison almost. It's this little cage that we have built and that we know so well, and it feels so safe and so familiar. And it feels safe because it is familiar. It feels safe because we know it so well. And so whenever we are trying to grow beyond it, to grow beyond someone who we have been, it can feel threatening to our body and to our nervous system. And so it may try to block us by self-sabotage, by procrastination, by overwhelm, right? Feeling of overwhelm is literally, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't take this anymore. It's becoming too much. Your body starts going into freeze, and that is a protective mechanism. So the first thing is to recognize that your stuckness and your overwhelm is a very natural reaction to your growth and your evolution. And the next thing then is, okay, start working with that. Almost make it a friend, make it an ally rather than an enemy, which I know sounds easier. It sounds easier than it is actually done. But it means, having compassion for yourself and for your resistance, for this feeling of overwhelm, and allowing your body to regulate again. So using regulating resources, or using resources that you have to calm your body so that it knows that it is safe, and then taking a next step towards what it is that you actually want. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I just feel like I have some of that resistance myself coming up. And I think it is, the first step is just to have some grace with myself, that is coming up for a reason. And
yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm curious, where in your life, I want to dive a little bit into your experience and like your own journey of awakening to these tools. Like what are some of the things that you have endured in your life that maybe where you felt stuck or overwhelmed or anything like this, so that people might be able to relate to your story of overcoming that? Because as we go through life, I think we all experience challenges, and those challenges, I believe, are there for us to learn, to grow, to help set an intention for what other thing we want in the future that's better than that, better than where we are. Like, we're always trying to grow and to improve and to be better versions of ourselves. So I would, back to the question is, can you share with us a little bit about what kind of challenge, overwhelm experience you may have had that has led you to this wisdom?
So I think, so by the way, I'm dealing with this on a daily basis. So literally today, this is what I was dealing with for like an hour in the morning. So it's an everlasting evolution. And that being said, I believe that, this is mostly going to resonate with people who have unconscious fears around being seen and being heard and being out in the world and sharing who they are, like being authentic in the world. Because if you have this fear, imagine like you have inside of yourself like this little scared child who is literally just like afraid of speaking their truth, of showing who they are. And suddenly you, as the adult, you start taking steps towards that. And this child is literally terrified of what you are trying to achieve. So there is this internal pull when you're pulling one way, which is forward, and the inner child is pulling backward, because it's like, oh no, we are not doing this. This has been so dangerous in the past. We are not doing this ever again. And then you have this pull, which results in you feeling stuck or overwhelmed. Right? If you grew up in a family that has been very supportive of your growth, your interests, you making mistakes, you may not have this experience, which is great and amazing, and I loved it for you. So some people, they just grew up in very supportive environments, and they are able to see opportunities, they are able to take opportunities, And if they fail, they're just like, okay, well, I learned something great. Let me go on to the next thing. But some other people, for me, for example, my experience is that the idea of going towards something that I want feels really scary and overwhelmingly scary. It can literally freeze me for days. It can literally freeze up my body for days at a time. Unless, until I started working with that feeling. So not everybody is going to have this experience of this overwhelm, but if you have these unconscious fears, you might have. And then it's, the work of kind of decoding those fears becomes really important, because they're literally keeping you back. They're keeping you stuck in the same place, which again feels safe.
Yeah, this is a constant practice, I think, for a lot of people who do. If the fears or the thoughts of the past happening again, if there was something that happened that hurt us, that was painful, whether that's our inner child or even more recently. So yeah, being able to maybe somehow let go of the thoughts of how that pain could come back again and see how the future could be different, but it's all happening in the now. Which
well, that's the unfortunate and fortunate thing at the same time. The unfortunate thing, because those experiences, the emotions of the past, we are experiencing them now. If we experience something painful in the past and we did not have the support of usually our parents or caregivers to process those emotions, they get stuck. And we are regularly, from our adult selves, we are regularly just thrown back emotionally to that time, as to the time of the little us who felt overwhelmed or scared or hurt or whatever it was. So those emotions are very real in the present, because we are experiencing them right now. It's just they are not caused by the present. We may think so, but they are actually not. We are just reliving something that emotionally happened in the past. So that's the unfortunate thing. The fortunate thing is that everything happens in the present, and we can actually start overriding we can start resolving our past emotional hurts, or these unresolved emotions that have happened in the past. We can start resolving them now by feeling them, by actually doing the work to track back, why am I feeling what I'm feeling right now? And wait, when I have felt like this before? Like, what was the first time that I felt like this before? Usually memory pops up. That's your cue. There is a little you trapped in time in your body that is calling for you to witness it, to see it, to feel it, to hear it, to feel the emotions so that you can release them. It's beautiful work. It's, I would tell my own coach, whenever we would speak, I'd be like, this work is amazing and it sucks. It's both. Because it means experiencing a lot of unpleasant emotions like pain, anger, grief, resentment. But the thing is, those emotions, they have been in your body for a very long time. They have been present for a very long time. It's just that we haven't really paid attention to them. So it is actually very kind to ourselves and everyone around us to finally start paying attention so that we can release it and then let it go. And as an additional step, after that, the bonus point, which I'm currently working on in my journey, is actually start rewiring my memories into memories that I want, actually. So my work currently is, if I have a painful memory from the past, to release the emotion, release the emotional charge, and then imagine, what do I want that memory to happen like? What would I want to actually happen at that time? And I start visualizing that memory and feeling what that would feel like. And I let that then, change my brain pretty much.
Wow. That's where I think some of the magic's coming in. Where
Yes.
yeah, to be able to accept what did happen, realize it, but let it go and create enough space so that you can visualize and co-create a reality, even if it's in a past timeline. But to start resonating with that, wow. Marketa.
It sounds like magic, but it's not. It's actually how the brain works. The brain doesn't care that something actually didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
The brain only cares about us believing that it did happen. And of course, I know that it didn't. But if I train myself to feel a different reality, then I start acting and feeling and behaving as if it actually did happen. That's how we learn. We think about it like when at school, we learn by repetition. We learn language by repetition. We learn math by repetition. We learn history by repetition. Like, why couldn't who is to say that we cannot learn to feel differently by repetition?
Yeah. So is it kind of like it's like rewiring, reprogramming our brain? What is this? Is this what you would call subconscious reprogramming?
Yes, for this one probably I would call like rewiring your memories, but it's all happening in the subconscious or unconscious minds.
Mm.
So yeah, it's subconscious reprogramming as well. Me personally, I don't care as much about the labels
Yeah.
as what they actually do.
Yeah, as the experience and the transformation that it gives you.
Yeah, because all of this is really experiential, right? And for me personally, until I actually experienced it, I did not believe it. I was like, this is never gonna work. But then I gave it a chance and I was like, whoa, okay, this actually feels really good.
Yeah, in all my years of like studying psychology, even like going to school and learning from all these psych professors and things, they never mentioned the idea of like even why don't you just pretend that something else happened in the past? It's basically like, and the first thing that pops up into my mind is like, well, that's fake. Like that's just not reality though. Like because we get so stuck in the story of like I'm
Yeah.
the victim. This happened to
Yeah.
me and like I think that we use that to kind of build up walls and blocks to protect ourselves. But if we can instead let those go enough to just envision the reality that could have been, because then that's influencing the reality that can be now. And if we can start to just play with that possibility, I think it can affect all timelines, the future,
Exactly. Right.
It's like quantum timeline magic. I don't know. Well, I love this.
And you know what? I was recently like thinking about what is actually like manifestation, because the idea of manifestation is pretty much the same thing, but you focus on what you want in the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of you visualize what you want in the future, and by feeling that, you're kind of calling that back to yourself. But even manifestation sounds very spiritual, but if I think about it on what it means for me, manifestation means that we actually first need to change ourselves. And we actually do change ourselves by training ourselves to feel differently, by feeling these different visions for our future, or by feeling these different memories of our past that we actually want. We literally change our brains. We change our body's chemistry. We change our body's chemistry away from cortisol and adrenaline, from the stress hormones, towards oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. So we change the way our body works, we change our brains, we form new neural pathways, and therefore we change ourselves. And yes, then you literally become a new person and you are able to see opportunities where you would not never see them before. And that's probably how you then draw that desired future to you. So I think it's both spiritual and scientific. My God.
Yes, yes, I think it is. I mean, when I think of science, I think of it's an experiment anyways. That's what science is. Truly, the scientific method is you have a hypothesis, you're testing it out. I think so many people might have a misconception these days about how science is, oh, it's fact, it's proof. Oh, no, it just has to be the fact that there's all this data to prove something. In reality, like, it's just the space through experimentation with ourselves to be able to come to something new. Like, life is always evolving. There's newness happening, but we'll never get to be like, if you want something to change, if you want reality change, I think something's got to change through experimentation. Yeah, you have to change on the inside, changing the thoughts that you're telling yourself, the story you're telling yourself about the past, about what you're capable of. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. And you know what? Sometimes I come from a family that is, I would say, like very scientific. A lot of doctors, like medical doctors, and so like this word like science is like thrown around a lot. And I'm like, because sometimes I get the pushback of, but hey, this has not been scientifically proven. And I'm like, okay, how arrogant can we be as a species to believe that just because we have not proven something with our current scientific methods means that it is not true? Like, how arrogant can you be to actually like believe that? Because what if there is something, what if there is like a whole other world that we are just not able to see or even describe with our current mind and our current scientific methods? Like, who is to say this is not true?
Yeah, like just because science often is about measuring things.
Yeah.
And if there's an experience that's difficult to measure, it doesn't mean it's not true, that it's not felt, that it's not a thing. It's just if we and this is, I studied quantum mechanics in university, by the way, and like quantum mechanics is all based on this. There's this thing called the observer effect. Like when you try to observe something or measure something, it actually changes the nature. It collapses the wave function.
Yeah.
This is the term. And it changes its behavior. So just by the mere fact of like, or the mere action of observing something or measuring something, you're changing that thing itself.
Yes.
Just because you're measuring it, because that relationship, because it's connected, because we're connected to all things. So by us taking an action to measure something, observe something, it's changing the nature of what it is. So it's not really the truth of what it is. It's a space of possibilities of what it could be that's not truly measurable for all that it is. And that affects, in terms of quantum study, like that permeates to all things. That's when you're observing anything. Like, so it shatters science for me. Like, it's just, and there's a whole series. I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole of quantum mechanics and study all the weird phenomenon that happens because of that in the lab and in the real world. But it just kind of, for me, then that's what it did for me. Learning that was like, oh, there's a state of possibilities now. It's not just this one thing that we think that we see on the surface. There's so much potential underneath everything. There's literally they would say an infinite amount of possibilities for what a thing could do, but it depends on its relation to everything else, on how it expresses itself. And there's all these different theories about, multiverse and da-da-da-da. But anyways, to make this more practical, I just to like bring it back down to everyday life. A little out there, I think, for most people, but like, it's just, it helps me to keep a little like optimistic about the possibilities of what could be, and to continue to explore and experiment and know that we are interconnected and we do affect other things too. So what our thoughts are, our observations, our feelings, it's affecting everything around us. So when we take care of ourselves, when we check in with ourselves, when we're aligned with, an intention that feels good, and that we are, just showing up as our best self every day, with kindness, with love, not fear. No, well, if the fear is there, it's okay. Just noticing it to transform it.
Yeah.
and coming back to the love, then I think that that's really influencing not only ourselves, but it's of service to everyone. All things. And so that's awesome. That's how you change the world. You change, and that's why when you hear people say, like, if you want to change the world, change yourself, like, that's how it works. It's quantumly. It's because when you are changing yourself, you're changing your observation of your thoughts, of your feelings, of your past reality. Like, you're actually influencing everything.
Yes.
Because it's all connected. And it's quantumly scientifically proven, if you want to go there. So
I feel like quantum mechanics is like it's a fascinating field that is starting to introduce like this quantum of possibilities to mainstream science and like mainstream population, right? Because if you talk to people involved in spirituality, they'd be like, duh. But translating this to different audiences, and also some people do actually need more scientific methods, or like current or available scientific methods to help them understand or help them believe, at least in the beginning stages. So it's extremely helpful and very, very fascinating.
yeah, awesome. So yeah, if anybody wants, help on this journey with diving into their experience, what would you recommend for them? I mean, for people who feel like maybe like, okay, all this is great, but every day, like, I'm busy working my job and I'm just struggling. Like, what advice could you give them? Resources, tips? How can they work with you? Yeah.
So honestly, I don't want to be giving any blanket level advice because, as you mentioned, everybody's journey is so different, and everybody is in different situations with different pasts and different present circumstances. So I do believe that, at some point, what we all need is to feel seen, heard, and accepted for who we are. Right. And connecting with someone who can help you with that, or even help you do that for yourself, can be very supportive. So I would, I just want to come back to what you said earlier, which is that, how do you change the world? You change it by changing yourself. And this reminds me of an amazing quote that I heard, or that I saw at an Ayahuasca retreat center in Peru when I was there earlier this year, which is their motto is, we heal the world one heart at a time. And this just, connected back to what you said, because I think that both are really, really beautiful.
Wow. So, okay, first of all, did you go through an ayahuasca experience?
Yes.
Okay, 'cause I've never tried ayahuasca, but I've been curious about it and I've wanted to. I've experimented with other psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD, DMT a little bit. But ayahuasca, I've never had the opportunity, or never made it the priority, I guess, to go. So can you tell me more about what it was like? Why did you go? What was your intention, and what did you discover?
Oh my God. Okay. So the first thing I would say, if anybody is feeling calls to it, or, for me, it was an experience of, I want to do it. Oh, I'm scared. I want to do it. I'm scared. I want to do it. I'm scared. So there was a couple of months of like going back and forth. And they usually say that, ayahuasca calls to you. And for me, this was this experience of going back and forth where my fear was holding me back. But I just naturally started connecting with people who have done it before, who have had various levels of experiences. And I was meeting like a lot of them back at home, or then when I was traveling. And so eventually I made a decision to go and try it myself. And I was scared. I was really scared. But the thing is, for me, the fear disappeared once I actually committed, and once I made the decision and I paid for the retreat. That's when the fear just kind of went away. And then I just had to deal with my family's fear when at some point I was basically in a conversation of, but do you know that you can die? I was like, yeah, I'm good with that.
We all are gonna die at some point.
So it just became really bizarre. But for
Hmm.
me, I felt very at peace with the decision that I was making. And that being said, I did not take it lightly. I have a lot of respect for all plant medicines. They can be very potent healers, and I would never take it lightly and just do it for fun. That's when you get your ass kicked, kind of. So I made sure I signed up at a retreat center that was very well known, that was working with the Shipibo tribe, which is, you know, the Shipibo shamans. They have hundreds of years of experience of handing down this knowledge through their lineage. So I really made sure that I was in the right hands and with my intentions. I went there with an intention to, well, heal, and fortunately also with enough humility to be like, well, I actually don't know what that means. And my experience was amazing. We had it was a week, and we had 4 ceremonies with ayahuasca, one with bufo. And the ayahuasca ceremonies were all different based on the different intention I went in there with. And the biggest, it felt like, how sometimes we use this metaphor of the onion and your healing journey being kind of like the journey of peeling back the layers of the onion.
I learned that from Shrek.
Is it from? I
And
don't know if it came from there, but that's so funny. Actually, I love Shrek. So for me, the experience with ayahuasca really felt like the onion just suddenly opened, and suddenly I could feel my essence. I could feel my soul. I could feel like the purest version of myself, who I can be. So suddenly I had embodied the potential of who I can be, which felt amazing. And you would not believe how quickly the world reacts to that, because I was still in Peru. I was traveling in Colombia a few weeks after the retreat, and people just reacted so differently to me. Like, they started paying attention to me, and I had a lot of these people just come to me and just offer help whenever it was really interesting. But unfortunately, what any plant medicine does is that it allows you to see the potential, but eventually it closes back up, right? Because unless you keep doing it perpetually, which I would not recommend, to be honest, because then you just become addicted, right? So after a few weeks, this amazing feeling of expansiveness and of me being like my highest self just started like diminishing, and eventually it went away. So then I felt so frustrated, because honestly, like, you don't want to go back from feeling that. You don't want to go back from feeling absolutely amazing and blissful and ecstatic to feeling like your normal self. But yeah, that's what happened. And so I then the next step in the journey is really figuring out, um, so actually like doing the work of peeling back the layers of the onion yourself, doing the hard work of that, so that you can get to the essence. The amazing thing is that once you feel the potential, you know what to look for, and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to say. So you know the potential, you know what it feels like, and you're like, oh my god, I want that. So let me just figure out a way how I get there, but ideally, sober. Because honestly, like, doing plant medicines every week just so that you can keep yourself feeling blissful, for me, that does not sound very sustainable.
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I've had this similar experience with the mushrooms and things, how it opens you up and you feel this oneness, this interconnection with all things, and colors are brighter, and it's just this intensity, this vibrance, which is amazing. But it isn't sustainable to do that through meditation, through like different practices, through cultivating self-awareness. I truly believe we can reach those moments of unity within inside ourselves. It's just that maybe these plant medicines can help us, see that potential, unlocks some things so that we know that it's there. We know what we are capable of, what we truly are, and that it just serves as like a reminder. And if we can try and integrate that into our everyday lives naturally, just by having that awareness, so that we can show up and not be reliant on. It's that the sense of independence that I'm praying. I hope that these plant medicines can actually offer people, is so that they can become, free on their in their lives, independently, not dependently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or interdependently, perhaps.
Yes, even better. I love that. I love that little. Absolutely. And you know what, the thing, so for me, I have had this experience of feeling like this bliss and feeling fully connected with my soul. All my physical body chakras were just completely open and everything. I have had that since then, while I was sober. So there were like 2 moments over the past couple of months when suddenly I was doing something during my day, and suddenly I was like, whoa, there's something different. There is like more of me. And again, my chakras started being open, and suddenly it was like there was a different being looking out at the world through my eyes, but it was just more of me. It was more of my soul. It didn't last. It lasted for like 2 hours. And then it went away. But it was the same experience. And now I know it's possible without any psychedelics. So when I talked about this with my teacher who I work with now, she says that this is basically like my soul, my higher self, downstepping into my body. So this idea of our soul, so now my intention really is like bring more of my consciousness, bring more of my soul consciousness into my body, embody that here on earth. And now I know it's possible. Now I know what it feels like. And all of this work of like cleaning house, cleaning all of this residual emotional stuff from childhood, and reprogramming my memories so that I can actually like feel better in the present moment, so that I can feel more not enlightened, but more free, more joyful, more at ease. All of this is just part of me, cleaning my body so that my soul can actually like have the space to take up more space.
I love that. And I recently, when I was in Dubai, I was studying a book from my partner's mother. She's a pranic healer, and there's a book that I was reading in her library, and it was called like Meditations for Soul Realization, or to merge with like your higher soul.
Mm-hmm.
And in this book, there's some meditations on how to do that. Like you mentioned, cleaning house, how to keep it clean. She told me, she said, cleanliness is next to godliness.
Mm-hmm.
Think of a church. Like they keep the churches clean for a reason. At least for me, I noticed that when I keep my space clean, my physical environment, that I feel better. My energy is brighter. Like I'm just more at peace, at ease, and so the same thing inside our body too, when we're cleaning up, and there's certain sweeping techniques that can be used, like energetic sweeping, just like you would sweep your floor at home. You can sweep the energy inside of your body, aligning your chakras, bringing in divine light through visualization. My actually another wizard on the platform, she taught me a really amazing light meditation to kind of sweep through pain, and clean the house. And I think just my intention at first was just to not feel pain. That's why I was doing that. I was trying to just clean up my body, eat healthy, go on the juice cleanse, do the water fasting. I did all of these different practices to try and just to feel more peace within myself. And as a like a side effect of that, which wasn't even my initial intention, but I realized, wow, I am connecting more with my higher self. Wow, there is more of my higher self coming through, and I'm way more connected with that. And by connecting with that, I'm more connected with all things, because that, in my opinion, in my experience, like that higher soul is actually, it's like a shared soul.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't know if you have that same perspective, but for me, it's like there's this being, that we're all unified in there, up there. You know, that soul is something that it's like a collective being, like that oneness is there, and then we're just these little fragmental pieces of that. But I don't know. Anyways.
I don't have a felt experience of that yet, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's I'm familiar, and I do believe it. It's just I haven't felt it yet.
Yeah. Um, you know, it's hard for me to say whether I think I felt it or if it's just more of a cognitive thing. Is a combination from everything that I've learned from the quantum studies and from the yogic practices and from the plant medicine experiences and the books that I've read. It's like it is a knowing for me that you know, I but it's not something that I feel all the time. I think we so often we do feel this separateness of ourselves, this division, that we are something unique. I've felt it strongly. It's been at the forefront of my mind a lot in my life because I'm an identical twin. I see the similarities of us, but I also see that there's a unique difference. And I've always wanted to prove that I'm different than her. You know, because everybody would be like, "Are you her? Are you her? Like, which one's which?" You know, like, "Are you guys the same person?" And I'm like, yes and no. When I think about it, I'm like, maybe we all are. Like, I don't know. It's like we strive for this individuality. We want that to be unique and amazing and special. But everybody wants that. So the fact that if everybody's wanting that, maybe that we share that experience because we're all similar. Actually, we're all kind of. I don't know. These are the thoughts that I'm just exploring. I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm not saying that that's how reality is, but you can explore it for yourself. See what comes up for you. Anyways, yeah. So, oh gosh. Well, we've talked about a lot of different things. Is there anything that you feel like you want to make sure that we explore in this?
Guys, if you're listening to this podcast, just come talk to us in person. I think you could really benefit, and so would we. It would be lovely to get to know you. So I guess that's my message. You know, Eddie, the founder of WIZDOM, he has a beautiful vision and mission for the platform, and hopefully, if you're still like this 57 minutes in to this podcast, hopefully you're resonating with what Casey and I are talking about. And yeah, both of us would be happy to support you on your own journeys, whatever that is that you need. So feel free to reach out. And speaking for myself, I actually have a free resource on my Instagram, um, which, yeah, I'm not sure I want to be spelling that out because people will not get it, but maybe we can put it somewhere in the show notes. Yeah, just there's a free book called Embrace Your Emotions, where I wrote down on like 20 pages the tips and tricks that have really helped me navigate my emotional world better, because I come from basically like 30 years of being dissociated from my body and my emotional experience. So I'm kind of learning that from scratch. So if you would like some additional support and are a little hesitant about reaching out, face to face, at least speaking for myself, that would be a great place to start. So feel free to use that.
Awesome. So, if you want to spell it out, go ahead and spell out like where people can find you, like what your Instagram handle is or something, that they can.
I'm gonna do my best because it's my first and last name, which is complicated, as you're gonna see. It's at Marketa Magyarova, which spells like Marketa Magyarova.
Awesome. That definitely helps, I think, with the audio listeners as well. So cool. All right. I'm excited. I'm going to check that out too. I didn't know you had that free resource. I'm going to go explore and dig in there.
Absolutely.
And that for me.
You know what? I'm getting better at overcoming my own limiting beliefs and my own blocks and marketing the stuff that I actually create, or just telling people about it. Because for me, this is what like this journey of becoming more public and speaking out and coaching other people and actually like starting a business a little bit is about. It's about overcoming my own blocks and limiting beliefs and helping people along the way, hopefully to do the same. So I'm very, very passionate about blocks and limiting beliefs and removing them and just, getting to a place where we can craft the lives that we actually want and not just like perpetually living from the past. So if you want to get my know-how or, like talk to me about how to do that in your own life, please reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marketa. It's been a pleasure, a real joy speaking with you today and learning from you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with me and with our audience. And I'm excited to learn more from you as well.
Yeah, same here, Casey. It was lovely.
Awesome. All right. Well, take care. I'll speak with you soon. Bye, everybody. Bye for now. All right. Thanks.